Shalom, I'm Rabbi Ginsburg. This is the fourth in my series of my favorite Jewish jokes. First one is, it's not that we're happy about anybody dying, but it kind of tells you about the feelings about the president of Iran today. A aircraft in the Middle East flown by Iran and carrying the Iran national colors signals the world that they're in distress. One of their engines, they want to land anywhere, but the pilot says specifically, we don't want any assistance from Israel. And no one responds. And then a few minutes later, he says, well, we're really in distress now. 2 of our 4 engines have failed, and we want assistance from anyone in the world except Israel. A few minutes later, a 3rd engine fails, and he says, well, we're now completely in distress, and we are only on 1 engine, so we'll even take help from Israel. Suddenly, he hears a response back. This is airport radio Tel Aviv responding to your distress call. And the Iranian says, oh, please, thank you for calling. Do you have any help you can offer us? And the person on the Tel Aviv radio says, repeat after me, Yit Gadal v'Yit Gadash Shemei Rabbi. Second joke. Fella is on the beach with his dog, and a guy walking by says, a very cute dog, and the man says, this is really a very special dog. He's very Jewish. The fella on the beach says, well, I'm Jewish. What do you mean he's Jewish? He says, well, watch this. Kippah. So the dog runs over to him, pulls out a tallis bag from under the man's chair, pulls out a kippah from it, and with one paw puts it on his head. And the man watches, says, that's amazing. So the owner says, well, that's nothing. Watch this. Tallis. So he reaches into the tallis bag, the dog, with his paw, takes it out, and snuggles under it until it's over his shoulders. And then the man says, well, that's really something. And then the owner says, well, that's nothing. Watch this. David. The dog then stands up on 2 paws, leans against the chair, and starts shuckling and barking. So this dog is amazing. You should take this dog on television. You should show him to the world. He's phenomenal. The owner says, yeah, you try talking to him. He wants to be a doctor. Third joke. This elderly British couple wins the lottery. And they now have many, many great amounts of money, and they buy a beautiful home, and they want to be very fancy. They buy a Rolls Royce and all the luxury items, and they hire a very formal British butler. And one day they say to him, listen, please set the table. We're bringing over the cones for dinner, and when we come back, we hope everything will be ready. So a little while later, they come back, and they see that the table is set for 8. They say to the butler, didn't you understand us? We said we're bringing the cones for dinner. The butler said, yes, but the cones called and said they're also bringing the kreplachs and the blintzes. Next joke. Bill Gates puts out an announcement that he's going to hire one guy to run a certain division, top division of Microsoft in Europe. They have 5,000 applicants, including one elderly Jewish guy from Tunisia. So Bill Gates, first of all, says, okay, of all of you, how many of you know the JavaScript? So with that, 2,000 get up and leave. That leaves 3,000. And then he says, okay, and how many of you have managed a company with at least 100 people? With that, another 2,000 get up and leave. So now there's 4,000 left. Then he says, all right, how many of you have now the expertise in a particular area? And with that, another 500 leave. And finally he says, how many of you speak Serbo-Croatian? So with that, 498 get up to leave, and there's only 2 guys left for this position, and one of them is this Tunisian guy, elderly Tunisian guy. Bill Gates said, well, I'm hiring 2 people, so you 2 are the only 2 left. If you both speak Serbo-Croatian, then you'll be hired, since you meet the other qualifications. Now, this Tunisian guy never knew Java. He didn't know, he never managed anybody. He didn't meet the 3rd qualification. We figured, what does he have to lose? So now, Bill Gates says, okay, so now speak to each other in Serbo-Croatian since you both know it. So the elderly Jew from Tunisia says, Baruch atah Adonai. The other guy says, Eloheinu melech olam. Bill Gates said, you both must know Serbo-Croatian, you're hired. Now, final joke for this video. A elderly man writes a letter to his son and says, son, every year I grow potatoes in my backyard, but the ground is very hard, and the summer's been dry, and the ground is just too tough for me. I'm too old, and I won't be able to grow potatoes this year. So his son writes back a letter and says, Dad, whatever you do, don't dig up the garden. That's where I planted all the money and the stocks. So with that, the next day, the FBI rolls in, and they come into the backyard, and with big diggers and hoes, they dig up the whole backyard, and they don't find anything. They leave. And so the old man wrote to his son and said, "Son, you won't believe what happened. Today, the FBI came, and they tore up my whole backyard." And the son said, "I know, Dad. Now you've got your backyard all hoed and ready for your potatoes. Go plant them. We'll figure out something for next year." I've got one more for you. Old lady, Jewish lady, goes to court, divorce court, and she says to the judge, "Judge, I want a divorce." He says, "Ma'am, how old are you?" She says, 90. "How long have you been married?" He says, 65 years. Judge said to her, "Lady, you've been married 65 years. Why do you want a divorce?" She said, "Enough is enough."